The Trinidad was a 42-meter-long canal schooner built in 1867. It traveled between American port cities on the Great Lakes, delivering grain, making hundreds of trips, and helping its owners get very, very rich in the process. But one day the Trinidad started taking on water, prompting the captain and crew to abandon ship in the middle of Lake Michigan. That vessel, and hundreds like it, were lost and forgotten, left to decay at the lake bottom, until this summer, when the Trinidad was found off the shore of Algoma, Wisconsin. Brendon Baillod is a maritime historian. He led the search for the shipwreck and recently published his findings. We reached Mr. Baillod in Madison, Wisconsin.
Brendon, what does this wreck look like?
Well, it really is like a time capsule. It's a ship that was built just after the U.S. Civil War in 1867. So you would expect, like most ships that are found on the bottom of the lakes, it to be broken or somewhat scattered. But I mean, this looks like a ghost ship. It's completely intact, with its deck houses still there. Its masts and rigging are all still there. It's an amazing sight.
You knew what you were looking for. Did you expect it to be in such good condition?
I did not. I had hopes, though. We knew that it went down fairly slowly from the survivors' accounts, and we knew it was going to be in deep water, too. And those both bode well for a shipwreck. But when we, actually saw the condition it was in, we were stunned.
How far down is the Trinidad?
The Trinidad is in approximately 270 feet of water. We haven't released the exact depth or the exact coordinates of it because we're not done documenting it yet. But it's quite a deep wreck. It is able to be dived by technical divers breathing mixed gas, so it will be probably a dive target at some point once we release the location, but not something that a casual sport diver can visit.
Maritime history, of course, is your love, it's your passion, it's your work. But what drew you to look for this ship?
Well, primarily because it was findable. So I wrote a book some years ago about all the ships lost here in Wisconsin waters, and there are hundreds of them. And so many of them just sort of sailed through a crack in the lake. They disappeared in the middle of the lake. We don't know where they are, or if we do, it's a big grid, maybe 10 miles by 10 miles. In this case, I kind of knew where this ship was within about a 5 mile by 5 mile box, and so that's about an afternoon's work with a good side scan sonar. And it was always on my short list to go after. And Bob and I finally got the chance. We had a weather window, and we had been planning this for a couple of years.
That's your partner, Bob?
Bob Jake, yeah. He's my wreck hunting partner. We've found a few different wrecks together, and we've been doing this for about 25 years.
Even with all of the information that you had, that you knew it was findable, it still took all of that time, as you said.
Yeah, it took quite a bit of time to research it. So, I pulled 50, 60 different, news microfilms. I pulled her enrollment documents from the National Archives. I actually found a historical photo. There's only one known photo of her when she was afloat. I found that. It was previously unknown. And so we did a lot of footwork to get ready for this. And then, of course, the sonar we use is pretty powerful. It shoots about a third of a mile wide picture of the bottom. And so, 140-foot ship doesn't look very big when you're looking at on a 2,500-foot swath. When we ran it over, we weren't so sure it was even a shipwreck.
Why?
Well, it showed up as sort of an indistinct smudge. But we were lucky. The bottom was very undifferentiated. It looks like a desert. So we really couldn't, it was the first thing we'd seen in 2 days. And after about 40 seconds, we both agreed we should go back and have another look at it. So we slowed down to about half speed and dialed it into about 600 feet per channel. And the thing almost burned a hole in the screen when we went over it. It stood up clear off the bottom. It was very clearly a shipwreck. And we were just ecstatic because we were getting to the center of our search grid, and I even said to Bob 5 minutes earlier, I said, Bob, keep an eye on the screen. This is kind of where the captain said the ship should be. 5 minutes later, there she was.
What a moment.
It was. We were, it's not our first trip to the rodeo, but we knew it was a major find, and we were really, really excited about it. We got the cell phone out and started taking pictures. We even recorded the moment when we verified it. As soon as we got to shore, we called our state underwater archaeologist, Tammy Thompson, and she was really enthused. She lives for this stuff, and she immediately made plans to help us survey and document the site.
Where does this fit in terms of your other discoveries, your other finds, in terms of historical significance? Because I can hear in your voice, and clearly there's a fascination with shipwrecks, whether people are, whether it's about the science like it is for you or just the mystery of it all. But there's more than just a fascination. There is history to be recorded. So where does this one fit in terms of significance?
This one's just really important to me because it's a grain schooner that was carrying Wisconsin, that carried a lot of grain out of Wisconsin to the eastern lakes and then down the Erie Canal to feed the people of New York City, Boston, and Philadelphia. And a lot of people don't know that, the raw goods that built our country during the period when it was industrializing, 1850 to 1900, that all came from the Great Lakes, and it was all carried on these schooners and steamers. And even fewer people are aware that so many of those schooners and steamers are still there, perfectly preserved like time capsules in the cold, fresh water of the Great Lakes. There are thousands of ships on the bottom of the lakes, and some of them are like time capsules, like a ship in a bottle, just like this one. And so it's so meaningful because it helps us tell that story of the role played by the Great Lakes and of states like Wisconsin in helping build our country.
You said you have more work to do. What's next for you in the Trinidad?
Well, the big thing we want to do is nominate it to the National Register of Historic Places. It helps us establish the wreck's real historical significance and to really tell its story in detail. But it also provides a little bit of additional protection. It confirms that it's covered under our Abandoned Shipwreck Act here in the United States so that nobody can remove anything from it. As most people know, the wrecks in the Great Lakes in the U.S. and Canada are all considered archaeological sites and are prohibited from salvage, with very few exceptions.
Brendon, thank you for your time.
Sure. Thank you so much.